And good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today my guest is Devdas. And Devdas is my yoga teacher, mostly pranayama and meditation teacher. And he started doing yoga when he was 16. Then when he was 18, he went into meditation and breathing, pranayama. And then he went to India, where he spent 12 years and he met an amazing teacher that transformed his life. And then Devdas was establishing centers, meditation centers all over India. And now he lives in Bali, and with his wife, they create a Sahaja collective project. And I have an honor to speak with him today. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. It's really a privilege and a joy to be here with you.
And I asked Devdas to do a little grounding before the interview, so I will pass the microphone to you.
Okay, off we go, guys. So, first thing, find a comfortable seat. Bring the eyelids down. If you want to practice a little bit of what I like to call seaweed, you can, which is just gently feel like you're a seaweed on the bottom of the ocean and you're not so much moving as much as being moved. The flow of the water all around you, the light coming in from above, and it's like you're gently lifting up through the spine toward the light. And then you're finding somehow the stillness of that lift. You're rooted down through your sit bones and up through the crown to the heavens. Just take a moment just to make sure that everything in the body is relaxed. And then just come into the natural space and spaciousness of your being. Allow yourself just to rest in that for a moment. And when you're ready, you can slowly bring your hands to heart center. Om Shanti Shanti Om.
Thank you for that.
Oh, my privilege.
So, do not believe your next thought. Who are you, Devdas?
You know my secrets already. One of my favorite quotes, one of my favorite sayings. In a weird way, I feel like in the modern world now we have to be cautious with this, because just to start out right from the beginning, it's like there's nothing wrong with having a body. There's nothing wrong with having a mind. It is, in fact, a miraculous gift. Like, to have a body, to be here, to have a mind, to have the privilege of thinking and learning and growing. It's huge. But it's not everything that you are. Like, there's an element to you that's beyond those things. And yoga is the sort of pathway into the discovery of all of the different dimensions who we are, from the physical to the energetic to the mental to the spirit. And when all of those are integrated, you have what's called yoga. Like, yoga means union. Sometimes people say union of the body and the mind. The body and the mind are already unified. They're here together as one unit. But in some beings, there has not yet been the recognition of all of the different dimensions of who they are. And can stilling the thought or not believing the thought take you into greater awareness of that? Of course. Like all of the traditions of meditation would point to the same thing. You come into your stillness, and then suddenly you feel that the stillness is a little bit larger than you suspected.
So how do we come to the stillness?
Wow. That's a really beautiful question. I mean, I feel like one of the fun things about yoga is that that actually does depend a little bit on you. Like, some people are wired more in their heart to express. That's a bhakti yogi. Some people are more sort of like contemplative, and that's a jnana yogi. Some people are more active in the world and want to, interact and play. That's a seva, that's a karma yogi, someone who's interested in doing seva. And it depends a little bit on the person who's experiencing that. But what you can say is that a good place to start is just a simple yoga practice, grounding, centering yourself in your heart. And if you're really sincere on that, and you stay with your practice, gradually it will become absolutely clear to you what kind of yogi you are and what practices work with, or let's say work for you, like work for you in discovering your own stillness and really allowing yourself to go deep into the fuller experience, the fuller human experience, let's call it that. And yeah, it's even just a simple grounding, even just a moment of stillness. Even I love your opening with grounding in a moment of stillness. It changes the field that you're in. Like if you have a work meeting and you ground for a minute before you meet, it will change the entire course of the meeting. And grounding into your stillness and being aware of your stillness and being aware of that aspect of who you are, if you can really stay with that and stick with that, it will change your whole life. Like, you become aware of that which cannot be spoken about, the aspect of your spirit that cannot really be sort of proven in a test tube, but it does exist. And awareness of that and unity with that profoundly alters the course of life.
So I hear that there are different paths maybe to that place, like there are different doors and everybody has a different door that we can open inside of ourselves.
Yeah. And to some extent that door is totally unique to you. Even if you're a bhakti yogi and you're surrounded by other bhakti yogis and you love singing and you love dancing and you love doing your yoga practice and you love sound and you love sound healing and that's like the doorway that works for you. It will still be a little different, your path, than the bhakti yogi who's sitting next to you. Just like all of our fingerprints are unique. And that's sort of why sometimes in yoga they refer to it as the cosmic romance, the divine romance, because everyone will be romanced a little bit differently. Which is just to say that you find your unique expression, you find your dance.
And I know that one of your paths is through mantras and singing, and it is bhakti yoga.
Yeah.
So why is that? Like, is it the easiest entrance for you into that space?
Yeah, it's. It's a fun topic because, in fact, what the yogis would say is everything in life is vibrating. Everything is making sound. Now, some of that sound is within our human range of hearing, and some of it's not. But even if you just go out in nature, it's like all of nature is singing all the time. The birds are singing, and the insects are singing, and everything is singing. It's only human beings that forgot how to praise life. It's like life is so beautiful. Sometimes your heart cannot be stopped. In fact, there's a kind of scene from the Bible that relates to that, right? Like they're coming singing into Jerusalem, and the sort of authorities are like, stop that singing, like you can't sing like that. And Christ says, if you stop them singing, the stones themselves will sing. It's just like, this is the moment of rejoicing in the Spirit. If you somehow convince them not to sing, life itself will begin to sing, because this is a moment of rejoicing. And, I was also very lucky to have a teacher who loved mantra and talked a lot about mantra and worked a lot with mantras. And he used to say, chant the mantra until the mantra chants you. Now, that's like the high level, that's a high level of achievement in the mantra world. But I think it's more accessible to people than they think. And the reason why is because we're vibrational beings. Like, we're also vibrating. We're also sort of, even if we're aware of it or not aware of it, like something in our presence has a certain vibratory quality. And so why not consciously engage in that practice and, get the real power. And it does actually align a lot with our inner alchemies. Like my teacher used to talk about, each of the petals on each of the chakras has a Sanskrit letter on it. And the sound of the Sanskrit activates to some degree that internal alchemy. And so mantras really are sort of almost like looking at a vibrational roadmap of your internal atmosphere, and coming into alignment and being able to work with that. And it's definitely, if you resonate with it, it's the fastest doorway. Like, the moment that you start singing. Even my teacher, who was a very austere character, he was a renunciate and a Swami, and had lived a very austere life. He said, even dancing can take you into unity, can take you into the unity experience, can take you into the divine. And then he said, but it's not the kind of dance that you would do on a stage. It's like an inner dance of your own energy. And ideally, your yoga practice also involves something like that. What are you doing? You're dancing with your own internal energy system. And you're using the asanas because why not? Like, they're beautiful, they're amazing. They've been around for, some of them, many, many, many years for a reason. But what you're really doing is activating your inner alchemies and using that to become more aware of the different aspects of who you are.
You mentioned your teacher, and you said that you were going to your teacher and you were drinking chai. He was telling stories. You were singing, and then you were eating sweets.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. And singing every night, singing and storytelling and sweets. And it was surprisingly effective. Like, but I feel like he was not a normal chanter, like it's kind of hard for me now when I see normal people chanting in the world. It's like, wow, that's nice, but it's not like that, because he really, this is maybe going to sound strange to people, but he really could chant from inside you. Like, he could chant the mantra so powerfully that it was just like moving through the room. And if you were at all open and receptive to it, it was moving through you also. And, that's quite a high level of attainment in in the realm of mantra, I feel like maybe it's not totally normal to have that level of attainment, but he did have it. And also the stories, like, I don't think he ever told a story that didn't directly relate to the life and the life experience of somebody who was sitting in the room. And so he had a sort of way of managing the space for the upliftment of those that were coming into the space. And yeah, it was an unforgettable experience. He came recently. This is just to give context to my teacher. He came recently to somebody in our community, and then I got this voice message on my phone. Devdas, I didn't know such a being of so much joy could even exist. I said, that's him. Unquestionably, it was a real visitation. Unforgettably overflowing with divine joy in almost every moment that I ever saw him, and intensely serviceful at the same time, like serviceful and present and simple offering, but very, very powerful.
You mentioned that he was a cave yogi, yes? That he was a hermit.
Yeah. Yeah, he was, I mean, you can see all this in the books, in excerpts from Infinity, and also in Transcendent Journey. Excerpts is my book, and Transcendent Journey is his book. But in Excerpts from Infinity, it tells the story of his dog. So his dog was named Dharma, and Dharma just came to him in a car, and he had no idea from where. Like, a car just arrived one day, and there was a dog inside, and the driver said, this dog has come for you. And he was like, where did it come from? The driver was like, well, I can't say. It's like, and he took it in the spirit that he always took things, which is that everything that comes is from the divine. And so he just welcomed the dog into his house, and they became sort of best friends. And Dharma, the dog, became the police of the satsang space. Satsang means, storytelling and music, just like we were sharing. And if somebody in the space wasn't still or was disrespectful in any way, Dharma would just let them have it fully. Like, he had bitten, probably shouldn't say this, but he had bitten hundreds of people. He was the police, like, he was looking out, like, are you a real yogi? But if you were a real yogi, and if you understood him and loved him, he was unforgettably beautiful and dear. One time I was chanting a song. I've never seen a dog do this, by the way. I was chanting a song, and he came up and he put his head on my knee, and he rolled so that his head was rolling up and down my leg. And as I was chanting, Jnanananda, my teacher, is pointing, laughing, everyone look at Dharma, because this complete love experience was happening between the two of us. But also I kind of understood his function. It's like you do sort of need somebody to police things. But
were you ever bitten by him?
No. We were too close. We were too close for that. I was lucky in that way. But in the end of my teacher's life, like, my teacher was really, truly an extraordinary yogi. He was not at all in any way a normal human being. He could sort of change your karma and see your past and your future and do all kinds of things that normal people can't really do. And in the end of his life, there was like 5-6 people sitting around him. Like it was a kind of an unusual condition. His own teacher had forbid him to have any kind of organization. Like he said, you're allowed to teach, but you're not allowed to advertise. You're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to have any kind of organization, because his own teacher had had some difficulty with organizations. And he felt like organizations were sort of a compromise, which in fact, if you look carefully, spiritual organizations are sort of a compromise. And so he just said, you're not allowed. Like, you're not allowed to have an organization. You're not allowed to advertise. You're not allowed to do anything like that. And my teacher took that very seriously, and he never did anything like that. He never had any kind of advertisement. He never had any kind of thing. Almost the one time that he scolded me was that I used to leave money in his shoes. Like, I would stay for a while and be with him, and then when I would leave, I just couldn't help myself. I felt like I got so much from being with him. It was like, and he never wanted anything from anybody, and it was like, okay, at least I can, sneak a little bit of money into his shoes. So I would put some money in his shoes, and then the next time I came, he said, Devdas left money in my shoes. Probably he thinks that I cannot afford a haircut. And everyone started laughing because he never cut his hair or beard. It was just like, oh no. But quite cute and quite fun. And I don't even really think that that was about the money. I think it was like his sense of being able to say to me, "You're family. Like, you can just come, and we're spiritual family, and you're always welcome." But that trend with me and him continued. Like, he gave me a copy of his book for free, of course, a hard copy. And so I went down to the publisher and I bought however many copies were left, and I brought them back up, because it was like, you're giving this out to people for free. Let me at least give you a bunch of them so that you can give them out to people for free. And I must say, the tradition of that continues with me. We launched his book on Amazon and also my book on Amazon, and we don't make a single penny off of either of those books. Like, we just give them into the world as an offering of love and an offering of, yoga.
Beautiful. So how did
Yeah.
he support himself? Is it that people were bringing him food and...
Yeah, like, he always had people around that were caring for him. Like, when he was young, that was not true. When he was young, he was a sadhu, and he was wandering from place to place, and he was just cared for by grace. I don't think he always knew where his next meal was coming from. In fact, I'm sure that at times he didn't know when his next meal comes, because he talks about walking down the Himalayas by Katgodam, which is a very beautiful place. It's near Neem Karoli Baba's ashram. He was walking high up in the Himalayas. And he talks about, coming down by the tea stall, which is kind of famous. It's like everything in Katgodam happens around this tea stall. And having not eaten in a long time and going very slowly by the tea stall, hoping that someone would invite him for tea. And then certainly someone came, "Oh, Swamiji, aye, come. And they had tea, and then they sort of found out that he hadn't eaten anything, and they gave him some food. But he lived just only by grace. Toward the elder years, first someone gave him a house, and that house actually did have a cave, which is fun. Like, the property actually had a cave. A psychic came to that cave and said, either a great yogi lived here and his Mahasamadhi is here, or Aurangzeb's treasure is here, which is a little bit unusual and strange, but it was quite a magical place. And he had a very small kutir, and by very small, I mean very small. It was probably like something like 2 meters or 2.5, maybe 3 meters by 2 meters, just like enough for a bed, just like a bed and a tiny little bit of living space. And he used to cram people in there and sing kirtan with them. But by the time that I met him, he had a bigger space. Someone had built a small house for him outside of their house. But he was by nature a sadhu. Like, somebody asked him, someone was wandering and said, where do you live? Where do you stay? He said, just up on Kolagar Road, they said, how much rent do you pay? He said, sometimes a headache, sometimes a backache. It's like he was talking about this. And then when he would refer to his house, he would call it my campsite. And someone had specifically built it for him. You know, they built it only so that he could stay there. And but he never really considered it his, because that's the sadhu way. You know, the sadhu way is that nothing really belongs to you, and you're moving in that way. Like in our community, we take that a little differently, because what he said, and I think this is really worth contemplating for everybody, is either you renounce the world completely. And if you renounce the world completely, you don't touch money, you don't touch anything like that. You're like him, you're just living purely by grace. Or you participate 100%, you participate fully. And I think there's real wisdom in that. And obviously, I have a wife, I have a child, we're on the participate fully side. But that's also, and you know, I asked him about it when I was young, because when I was young, I was kind of not 100% certain which way that the life would go. And I asked him about that question, and he said something which was a little hard for me to believe at the time. He said, whether or not you go for complete non-participation or 100% participation, it doesn't make any difference. Like, neither one of them is better than the other one. And, you know, that sort of, lots of things in our society would like to tell you differently than that. So that was sort of like, wow, it took some time to really integrate that. But once I'd integrated it, I felt like, okay, maybe my way is more on the participation side.
But don't you feel that living in a cave and not participating in the world is kind of indifferent?
It wasn't at all with him. Like, you know, I think I was talking with this guy who was doing this kind of like really expensive coaching program, and the person who was heading that program was like talking about the number of people you touch and what's your impact, and, you know, do you make this amount of impact or that amount of impact. And I was trying to tell my friend, my teacher in India had seemingly on paper extremely little impact. I think he impacted the whole planet. And if you ask me to describe exactly why would that be, it's like, well, things happen a little differently than what we think. Like, you know, is your impact by how many people that you've touched? Or is your impact the profoundness of your life experience and what that's unfolded into? Like, he could change your karma by looking at you. Like, there's a handful of people anywhere in the world that have that sort of spiritual power. And, you know, I feel like a life lived like that, it leaves an imprint far beyond what you could even imagine, because it's just not that common. You know, it's not every day that you run into a being like that. And if you're kind of hearing this and you're curious about that, and you feel, what, you know, what's this yogi about? Read Transcendent Journey. There's some stories in there that just, you can't make heads or tails of it. I mean, just to give you kind of a strange example, he's walking in the forest with this other sadhu ascetic when he's young, and he's talking about a particular part of the scripture, and, you know, going into kind of the subtlety of the meaning of that. And the ascetic yogi who's next to him just stops, goes, "Phew!" and a pile of ash appears in front of him. He smears the ash all over his body and he runs off into the woods. It's just like, these are not ordinary beings, you know. They're operating on a completely different vibrational realm. And yet one of the things that's like beautiful to me is on the other side of things, they are normal human beings. You know, it's like he had a normal life and a body and responsibilities and all of the things that we have. I mean, even though he called his house a campsite, he was responsible for his students. Like he was responsible for the spiritual well-being of the people that came to sit with him. And he took that responsibility appropriately.
So were you a witness to those like miracles?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I mean,
I understand that the whole being with him was like a miracle, but did you witness like
yeah,
miracles like this, like man?
I definitely witnessed
Like, can you
things
share
that,
any stories about that? I'm really curious about like specific stories.
I mean, I witnessed him do many things, but one that I can really tell you from my own sort of personal experience is like one day I came to satsang and I cannot tell you exactly what was happening, but definitely I was like in the beginning stages of being sick. And I don't know how long that would have lasted or what that would have been like. He just like looked at me and said something, and just immediately it was like poof. Like it was just gone. There was not one trace of it in my body. And you know, I sort of like took me a minute to recover from the shock of that. You know, it was just like what just happened sort of thing. And then I sat down and I sat through satsang, and then I sort of felt like I've got to go thank him for that. Like, you know, that's not a usual thing. So I stood up and I walked up to him, and I was just about to open my mouth, and he goes, like, just meaning it's all the divine. It's nothing. And it was sort of just like, whoa, like you are some unusual being. And you know, that was kind of part of my own maturing also as a teacher and as a yogi, is like it's very hard to live with someone like that and not put them up. You know, like not say like you're up there and I'm down here and there's no way I'm going up there. And every time I would even think of that, he would just say, everything is one. Like everything comes from one source. I'm not better than you, I'm not higher than you. And you know, it took a long time for that to really penetrate my being, because it was sort of just like, whoa, I see that you can just do things that I can't do. But you know, in a weird way, that this all ties back to sort of the Advaita way of picking up life, the non-dual way of picking up life, which is where we started our conversation. Don't believe your next thought. Who are you? You are the soul. Like you are the spirit. And you're manifesting in this life. In this life, is there a kind of unfolding? Yes, actually. Like if you're living life correctly, you're unfolding more in grace. You're becoming more aware of the capacities of your soul and your spirit. And you know, I can tell you right now, there's nothing special about Devdas at all. I'm just an average kid that grew up in California. There's nothing special about me at all. And yet, I picked up life soul first. Like I picked up the whole of my life. The most important thing in my life is my soul and learning about my spirit and learning about my connection to life, and everything else is secondary. And I still, you know, live that way. I have a family, I have a wife, but I still live soul first. And if you live soul first, you'll begin to experience things that you didn't even believe you thought could be possible. Like, why is that? Because you are the soul. And that's a fact. Like the tremendous intelligence that created life is functioning inside of you. And most people don't ever come to that recognition or get into right relationship with that part of themselves enough to see the result of that. My own teacher used to say, everybody has the ability to, let's say, one example would be like the ability to communicate over distance or communicate non-verbally. And he said, but most people's telephones are in a broken condition. And then someone said to him, well, why are the telephones in a broken condition? And he said, because you don't use them. And that's 100% true. It's like if you expect to use the powers of the soul, you must have right relationship with the soul, and you must be exercising those capacities within yourself. As you exercise them, just like anything else, they get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger because you're using them. If you're not using them, guess what? Like I lived outside of India. When I was in India, I didn't speak fluent Hindi, but I spoke fairly good. I could speak decently Hindi. And then I lived outside now for almost 8 years in Bali. And I went back to India about a year ago. And it was just like, whoa, my Hindi is just not even a fraction as good as what it used to be. Why? I don't use it. Like I don't have anybody to talk to. If I don't have anybody to talk to, slowly, down, down, down. And it really is, in a weird way, the same with the capacities of our soul.
But do you feel that we have the ability to attain that state of awareness that your teacher had, or it's grace that happens inside of us that opens up?
No, it's for sure. It's for sure cannot be attained by hard work. I fully see your point, and I fully agree. Like it cannot be achieved by hard work, but what you can do is open the door. It's like, most people are living in a world where they're like, there's just not much light. And it's like, but they've got the windows drawn. They have the curtains shut. And it's like, well, guess what? Like every day, wake up, open the curtains, and see what happens. And, there is sort of, there's sort of an element in it that you have to like participate in it, but you cannot achieve it. Like you cannot achieve it through action. And the reason why you can't achieve it through action is it is you. Like, could you just act and then achieve yourself? No, what you have to do is remember. Like, you've always been that. You always will be that. You have to remember that you're already that. Are there activities that help you in the remembrance? That's the whole science of yoga. Like, the whole science of yoga is aimed at helping you remember. And, there's so many facets of it. You could just go into one facet and spend a lifetime just working on that facet. You could spend a lifetime as a bhakti yogi. You could spend a lifetime as a jnana yogi and not have really gone fully into the experience of that. But the basis of it is coming into remembering. And there's a Sanskrit word for that. That word is smriti. Smriti means remembrance.
Isn't that a bit sad that we can try, we can practice, but that ultimate awakening is in the hands of the divine?
I feel a lot what you said, but I just turned the corner on that myself, which is that I used to feel like it was sad, but I see that it's actually in the design of the human being. It's like we're meant to forget, 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like children, if you watch them, they're very much in their natural state, but slowly, slowly they also forget. Like, and if they're very aware children, they're even aware that they're forgetting. Like, there was a child in the ashram where we lived who said, an older child saying to a younger child, "I'm forgetting what the other world is like. Can you tell me? Like, can you remind me?" It's like they're even conscious that they're forgetting. And the forgetting must be on purpose. It must be part of life. And then if you say, oh, well, that's unfortunate, well, it's what makes the remembrance so sweet. It's like, as human beings, we forget. And then when we remember. And when you come into remembrance, it's like tears of joy just streaming down your face. Oh my God, this is what I've always been. This is where I've always been. This is who I've always been. I just somehow forgot. And it's like, that's how I felt when I first went to India. It's like, I've been waiting my whole life just to come to this moment to recognize what I already had recognized before. Like it doesn't really make any rational sense at all. But when you do come into contact with that part of yourself, there's just such a rejoicing in your being. And I think the sweetness of that is part of why we forget. And part of why we forget is the world has to accommodate lots of different kinds of beings, right? It's like not everybody is interested in the play of remembering. Some people are interested in the play of different things. But if you're interested in the play of remembering, and you really have the intention in your heart, this is for me. This is what I want to focus my life and my energy on. I feel like that you will remember is a certainty. Like if you really get it in your heart, like that's for me. I've got to remember. Already you're not far away from the discovery.
So how often do you remember?
All the time. All the time. There's lots of different answers to that in the yogic world, and I think some people feel like that is kind of experience based. It's like, am I having a good spiritual experience? If so, I'm in the process of remembering. But I rather think of it like when you first fall in love with somebody. Like when you first fall in love with someone, you cannot forget them. Like if someone says, forget this person that you love, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't. Like even if I'm at work, even if I'm driving my car, even if I'm eating food, like no matter what I'm doing, like I'm aware that that's present. And that's in a weird way similar to the relationship to the soul. Like no matter what I'm doing in my life, if I'm practicing yoga, if I'm talking to my daughter, if I'm, no matter what's happening in my life, I'm aware that aspect of myself is also there. And sometimes it comes very strong and tears are coming, and but it doesn't have to be like that all the time, because I know it's there. Like we're in right relationship in the sense that our recognition of the unity condition is constant. And I'm aware of the fact that usually people go through a time period where that's not true. Like people usually go through a time period where it's sort of like, hallelujah, I'm aware. Oh my gosh, and then things are not going so good. I'm less aware than I was before, and the sort of roller coaster of that. But even that is just like putting out the last remnants of what's keeping you from remembrance. Like sometimes in beings they like hold on to very strange things. I've really seen this working with people spiritually. It's like sometimes people hold on to things for very specific, slightly strange reasons. But if you really have in your heart what I said earlier, which is that you have the intention to know who you are and to experience who you are, none of those things will stop you. You know, like I feel like the whole of the kind of Western spiritual world is like your spiritual attainment depends on your action. It's like, no. Like your spiritual attainment is that you are the spirit. That's fact. Like that's not fiction. And if you come into remembrance of that, it's likely that you'll go through, not everybody, but it's likely that you'll go through a cycle of kind of remembering and forgetting. But even that remembering and forgetting is like a growth into deeper remembering. You know, everything spiritually, it's like 10 steps forward, 5 steps back, 12 steps forward, 2 steps back. Like, it's never, you know, absolutely consistent. But the process of coming into remembrance, it's like you are getting further in your remembering. It's just that unfolding is not instant. Like it takes what appears to be time. In fact, there is no time, but it takes what appears to be time.
So what would you say about if everything is one and everything is divine, everything is from God, then what about those children that are suffering and are hungry?
Yeah.
You know, like it's really hard for me to...
Yeah. And that's absolutely right. And you have to have the strength and the courage to be willing to look at that. And I'm happy that you have the strength and the courage to look at that, because I think what many people do is sort of like sweep it under the rug or pretend that it's not there. And that doesn't necessarily lead to further remembrance. Like in general, sweeping things under the rug does not take you deeper into who you are in integrity. And so, I mean, I think those things, like, I take them as, address them as they come. Like, you know, when you see something, be willing to really look at it and be willing to see it and be willing to feel into it. Sometimes those feelings are uncomfortable. Lots of feelings are uncomfortable. Like, there's nothing wrong with having uncomfortable feelings. And in a weird way, the spaciousness of your being and your soul is what allows you to be able to sit through that. Like, you know, to sit with something uncomfortable, even if you just have a marriage or a long-term partnership. There's going to be moments that are absolutely fantastic and where you're super harmonious and everything's going great. And there's going to be moments where it's like, whoa, that's not good. Like, that's uncomfortable. That's hard to sit with. Like, that's tough. And you got to be able to weather that. Like, you know, you have to just be able to sit with that. And it's like, okay, uncomfortable feelings are coming. Does that change how much I love this person? And hopefully the answer to that is no. You know, like I can sit with a little bit of uncomfortability and still feel like, wow, I'm so grateful that this person is in my life, and I'm so grateful that I have this opportunity in this relationship, and it's really uncomfortable right now. And that's okay. You know, like that's part of life.
So do you get angry?
I'm inclined to say not really. But the reason is because I feel like at some point for myself I saw, I wasn't like, my kind of tendency as a human being wasn't toward anger, but I did have sometimes a tendency towards worrying about people. And so when I found myself in the beginning, this was a long time back, in the beginning of my spiritual path, when I found myself worrying for people, I realized worrying energy hurts people. Like if I sit there and I'm like, oh my God, oh wow, like you're really not in a good condition, like, you know, like, have I done something good for you? And it was absolutely clear to me, oh no, like, you know, if I just sit there and say like, no, yeah, you're not like gonna make it. That's like not really good. Like that I'm not doing anything good for you. And so I just saw, let me transform that to praying for somebody. Somebody's not doing well. Oh my gosh, deliver that person. Like let them see the light of their own heart. Let them be carried in joy. Let them, like kind of transferring it to something that you don't know if it has a positive influence, but it might. And the, oh my God, that person's just doing so bad, like they're not really going to make it. It's like there's a pretty good chance that that's not doing anything good for them. So I just got myself in the practice of trying to use my own energy to uplift and support and love, um, no matter what the outward circumstances are.
So if someone was offending you or was doing something wrong, like for example to your daughter, like wouldn't there be anger?
Oh no, I would fully stand up 100%, like 100%, like without even thinking about it. No, it's that's a really interesting question, because I feel like that touches on one of the misconceptions in the modern spiritual world, which is that everything is good. Mm-hmm. It's like everything is good, but not if it's bad. And there are forces of evil in the world, and the more refined you get spiritually, the more aware you become of those forces, and they can really act to try to prevent your remembrance. Let's put it that way. And, it's like not something that happens all that often, but it does happen on the spiritual path, where you sort of have to come to the recognition. And in a weird way, it touches back to your question about the children. It's like there is evil in the world, and it does have a function. All of the great epics of India, they're the war between light and dark, and there's no exception. Sita gets kidnapped by a demon. Like, it's not a small thing. And if you ask me what's happening in our world right now, Sita is also kidnapped. Like, the way that we treat our mother, the way that we treat the earth, like, we've held her ransom. Like, we take and we take and we take and we take and we take, and we think she's going to give back the same she gave yesterday. She's not going to give back the same she gave yesterday. Like, why? Because imagine a human relationship like that. Imagine a human relationship where you just take and take and take and take and take. How's that relationship going to end? Really, really badly. But we do the same thing to Mother Earth, and we feel she's just going to take it and be fine. And, I stand in profound sympathy with the Divine Feminine, and I hope that the Divine Feminine comes into popularity in the human experience again. Because if we continue to treat our mother the way that we do, we won't make it. Like, we won't continue to be able to live this beautiful life. So there are forces of evil and there are forces of darkness. At the same time, what is your individual job, as a yogi? And everybody can choose this. You can choose your own. I'm not going to tell you what you feel is your purpose, but I feel like if I've been given anything to do in this world, it's just show up and love people with 100% of my heart, no matter what their condition is. Like, whether or not they're the most refined being in the world or the least refined being in the world. It's not my job to tell them that they're refined or unrefined. It's my job to love them and to support them as best I can. And, I feel like other people take a different approach, but that's the approach that works for me. It's like, I feel like I really value having been loved unconditionally by somebody. Like, I really feel like my teacher in India, like, he loved me unconditionally. And it was so powerful. It was so much more powerful than I would have thought. Like, if you'd told me about that kind of as a story or as words, I'd be like, oh, that's nice. It's like, no, it just totally transformed my entire life. Like, I walked out of it a completely different person. And, I think we tend to think of love as being sort of like romantic and sweet or, not powerful. And it's like real unconditional love can just change everything. Like it has tremendous force and tremendous power behind it. If you think about, we were talking earlier about the life of Christ. If you think about Christ, 2,000 years later, everybody knows who he is. Like, why? Because he found the courage to love in the absolute worst circumstances. Like in circumstances that were just beyond bad. He found his soul and he found his heart. And, because of that, 2,000 years later, we can't forget him.
Yes. I remember when I was sitting in your first pranayama class, and you say there is nothing special about Devdas, but there is this special transmission, like you really take into that space, into that divine opening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm grateful for that. I mean, what I mean by that there's nothing special is like, I think sometimes people have the idea that it's like you were born with a certain set of qualifications that somebody else doesn't have. And that's just not true. Like, I was born in a same condition as everybody else. But, that I dedicated my life to that, and that I found teachers who supported me in that, that was grace. That was a gift that certainly I feel like I'll never forget. And if you have the privilege to touch somebody's life in that way, what a privilege. What a tremendous joy. Just look at the world that we live in. It's like, how many people are living soul first? That, like, I was in a class in Singapore. Now this is just funny story time. I'm in a class in Singapore, and I was telling people that, try to live your life soul first. One of the girls just turned to me. She said, "What do you mean by that? What does it mean to live your life soul first?" I said, "Well, I just came from the Buddha's tooth. The Buddha's tooth is in Singapore. The actual tooth of the Buddha is in Singapore, and it's on the 4th floor. And there's places you can meditate around the tooth. And then at the bottom, underneath in the basement, there's cheap, good quality vegetarian food. So we love it. We go every time we're in Singapore. So, and I do my practice there. I actually do my full practice in the Buddha's tooth. So I'm in the Buddha's tooth, at the top on the 4th floor, next to the Buddha's tooth. How many people are there practicing yoga and meditation? 5, like maybe 6. Go downstairs to the 1st floor, where there's really good, really cheap vegetarian food. How many people are there? Like around 200. And it's like, okay, not everybody makes it to the top floor. But yeah, it's like my feeling is the inverse of what it looks like. It's a privilege to know something about who you are, and it's even more of a privilege to share with people about who they are. And people tend to think that that's about the teacher. It's not, it's about you. Like, you know, everyone, we talked about that earlier, everyone's spiritual path is going to be unique. I can sort of help people and guide people and show people things that worked for me. But at the end of the day, I can't do it for you. Like, you have to do it. And that's what makes it so sweet. We talked about the sweetness of remembering. What makes it sweet is that it's yours. It's like no one can give it to you, no one. But if you open the curtains and look at the light, you'll see that it's coming from inside your own heart. And I feel like that experience is unforgettable. Once you taste that, it's like everybody has to try this. You know, like the world has to come back into the recognition of the beauty and the power and the intelligence of the Great Spirit. But the way that we go right now could be a while before my dream comes true.
There are miracles happening, so who knows?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's it. That's it. Exactly. Exactly.
So is there anything else that you would like to add at the end? Like share with people, maybe you have some message, unless we've shared the most important things already.
Yeah, like I mean, I feel like sometimes people in the beginning of their journey, like seeing the pathway of yoga and kind of the diversity of the pathway of yoga. It's like I could get into mantra, I could get into pranayama, I could get into yoga, I could get in, you know, hatha yoga, I could get into meditation. It's just like kind of overwhelming. But the important thing is not what path is right for you. The important thing is just to start. And once you start, follow your passion. You know, like if suddenly pranayama is like, wow, like that just blew me away. Like, then practice again tomorrow. Like, you know, or suddenly in meditation you go deeper than before. It's like, okay, I'm going to investigate this a little bit more. And if you really follow your passion and you follow your heart, it also shifts seasons. You know, it's like maybe there's a season of pranayama for you, and then suddenly there's a season that's like you're still doing a little pranayama, but you're doing more mantra. And then there's a season where it's like, okay, now I'm more on meditation. And I think sometimes people are like, oh, you know, that's something wrong. I switched seasons. It's like, no. What's right is that the inspiration is there. Like you're following your heart, you're following the call of what's right for you. You're kind of coming more in tune with your song and starting to sing your song. And that song probably has lots of different verses, you know, like, and what a joy to explore and to play and to learn and to grow. Yeah.
Thank you. So, would you like to end with a little grounding or closure? Like
yes, 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 absolutely. Absolutely. Great idea. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So let's do this one based on breath. So let's take a nice deep breath in and sigh it out. And again in. Sigh it out. One more time. take a moment, just relax the body, relax the breath. Let everything settle. And then just observe the breath as it moves. Where is it moving? How is it moving? The breath and the mind are profoundly interconnected. Still the breath, still the mind. And when you're ready, you can just bring your hands to your heart, bow the head down to the heart in gratitude. Om Shanti, Shanti Om. And thank you, 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 thank you for having me.